Welcome to the Target Audience Podcast. I'm Pierce, and I'm joined with my lovely co-host, Ben.
Hey, how's it going, Pierce? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So we're talking about First Reformed, which is a movie about a minister of a small congregation in upstate New York that grapples with mounting despair brought on by tragedy, worldly concerns, and a tormented past.
Yes.
Very light fun for the whole family.
Man.
Well, actually, I mean, it's not like bad. You can definitely take your family and watch this movie, but you're going to have to answer a lot of questions afterwards.
Yeah, this is going to be the start of a small series where it's just Pierce and I watching really heavy movies. Because this is like after...
we did the house that Jack built.
And now we're doing First Reformed, and it is...
It's a heavy movie. No?
It's a heavy movie. Like, this isn't one that you enter or leave feeling good. I think it's a very powerful movie.
It's a very good movie. We'll get that out of the way. I think it's very good. I liked it a lot. Did you not like it as much?
I liked it. However, I have some issues with characterization as the movie goes on.
Okay.
It makes some interesting
character
development.
I definitely agree that it gets kind of weird.
It gets kind of weird.
But I was a fan of the direction they went with.
But yes, I like what they did with it. With said decisions characters make. It's an interesting one. This movie stars Ethan Hawke.
Great performance in this movie.
This is a great performance from an actor who I don't think really gets a lot of respect necessarily.
No, yeah. I mean, Ethan Hawke, whenever you hear someone talking about Ethan Hawke, you don't think Oscar-winning Ethan Hawke.
No.
And
you think of, what do you think when you hear the name Ethan Hawke?
I think of, like, Boyhood, because I still haven't seen that, but I know he was in it. And I think of Training Day.
Yeah, and
then there's that series of movies about the couple. There was like 3 movies.
Yeah,
I want to watch
the romance kind of.
No, this one is like not like a romantic comedy. It was like,
well, it's not a comedy, but it's
like 3 movies about the same couple.
Yeah.
And like the one movie's about them meeting. The one is about them like getting divorced because it's like,
yeah.
And then the other one is like them
igniting or reconnecting.
And I hear they're interesting, good dialogue in them. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like in a rush to see them.
Yeah, it's just Ethan Hawke just doesn't get a lot of play, I don't think.
Oh, actually, it says them right here. Before Sunshine, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. And they span from the years 1995 to 2013, which is actually kind of interesting.
There's quite a bit of time in between each entry.
So it's almost like a real life relationship, like time, like the time stretches between the movies. But anyway, so this movie is very heavy. Politics in this movie. If you don't agree with the politics of this movie, you might have a different opinion.
I think if you disagree with the politics of the movie, that's the point. I think it's supposed to just present somebody else's opinion, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah, I guess I could see that, but I could also see someone watching this movie and them getting tired of
them beating you over the head with the message that they're trying to get across.
It doesn't really come off as like preachy, but it doesn't paint the other side it doesn't paint both sides as they both have good points.
No, it definitely paints it in. Well, it's hard to dance around without getting into pretty much like spoilers to an extent.
Yeah, well here.
I guess we'll have to circle back.
Yeah, we'll circle back to it. So without spoilers, I mean the movie's very well shot. I like the 1.73 to 1 aspect ratio.
Mm-hmm. It's a very drab movie.
It's not very colorful because
very desaturated.
Yeah, very desaturated, which fits with the tone of the movie. The setting is like the Midwest, but during like the colder months.
Yeah, where does it actually take place? It's in I thought it was like in Pennsylvania, was it? Or it's upstate New York.
Okay, maybe not the Midwest, but it's still like the small town,
It's somewhere that is of historical significance, but it feels like culture kind of left it.
Exactly.
Like
no one appreciates.
It exists in its own time.
Exactly. And he works at a church that was like a historical monument. and people don't really go to it as a church anymore. They mostly go for it
Yeah.
as a tourist attraction, and barely even anyone at that.
Yeah, he's a minister to no congregation, basically.
Yeah, there's like...
Except for a handful of locals.
There's a scene where like they're doing it, and there's like 10 people in there, and it's a big church.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it's definitely draws attention to the fact that more and more people aren't associated with their local religious community.
They all flock towards the mega church.
And they all flock to the mega church.
The Joel Osteens and stuff.
Yeah, or not even necessarily that, but just, the larger places where they've got, projectors, or, like Bay Life for, like, our local...
Yeah.
Kind of generic Christian meeting center.
And I'll be honest, as a kid, those churches were way more fun than the...
Yeah, and they've got youth groups there and things like that are more appealing to...
They have the Christian rock bands.
Yeah, making
Never
Christianity...
Going to a Christian rock concert?
No,
I have.
I've seen Devil Wears Prada live, and they're a Christian band.
Oh, yeah, they are a Christian band. That is, so you did go to a Christian rock concert.
Technically, I did.
I went to a concert that was at a church.
Oh, yeah, no,
because they had like a little like stage, not like a little
friends.
It was actually kind of a big. I was only because my grandma made me go to church, and this was like she made me go to this one specific church, and I didn't mind it because of the youth stuff, because there was like arcade games in there. I wasn't even. I mean, I didn't take any of the Jesus stuff back with me. I just remember playing driving games.
I'm actually in a similar situation where my mom became religious around when I was in 7th grade, and she was going through the baptism process and all that stuff because she found her faith. And I was going through.
She found her faith later on in life.
Yeah, and I went to Bible classes Wednesday nights after school. I want to say.
Oh,
to kind of like follow in like a similar path as her, and I never really particularly latched onto it.
No, I
went to youth groups and stuff like that, and I hung out there, and I played PS2, and I was like, all right, yeah, cool, be a good person.
Here's a PlayStation.
I know this
be a good person. Here's the PlayStation.
Yeah, I know this 17-year-old counselor is definitely not banging any of these girls.
Yeah,
they were. They always are.
They use Jesus to tell the kids not to do it, but then those kids grew up to be teenagers who then join youth groups to get laid.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a very counterproductive system.
It's a thing. It's whatever. That's not the main takeaway what we're talking about here. It's a bullet point. We're just talking about more palatable religion.
Yeah,
and he's very much kind of the old ways about penance in punishing yourself for your sins.
Yeah, but he's not like too old school where he's like intolerant of others.
No, he's more
old
pretty
school
understanding
in practice rather than beliefs.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Like he upholds old traditions, not old beliefs.
Exactly. And he's not into the big flashiness of like a mega church.
And to give some context to this is like it's a man who feels very lost. I think
and alone,
lost and alone,
a lot of loneliness.
Yeah, and him talking about how he feel like his connection with God has been severed, how he feels alone. His wife divorced him because as it turns out, he's in a long line of people who were enlisted in the military, and he pushed that on his son, and his son ended up dying in the Iraq War.
Exactly, and then
his wife left him, and he's sick, and there's a lot of factors, and he feels
dealing with alcoholism.
Yeah, and it's kind of about himself trying to find purpose again.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the movie didn't go this way because I like when I started watching, I'm like, okay, this is gonna go the route where he's like
he finds his faith again,
the classic losing faith and finding faith again. But there was never. He always kept his faith throughout the movie. So like,
he never stopped believing in God. He just never. He didn't believe in himself.
He didn't believe in himself,
and not in a corny
humanity
way.
Almost. So, like eventually, I guess
he thought he was irredeemable for his sins. He thought he was like permanently tainted by that.
Exactly. So he didn't treat himself. He didn't treat his body with like respect. Like,
yeah, he was almost like a priest with like a suicide wish. Where it's
but
like
he didn't want to kill himself because he was part of his beliefs.
But in a way, he was poisoning his body. And
he wasn't helping
mind.
himself.
Yeah. Which is just kind of background painted onto the character.
Yeah, and it definitely like fits with the overall like theme of the movie.
Yeah. And it puts you in the spot where it leaves him almost vulnerable for finding a cause. If that makes sense. And I think now is probably the part where we should probably transition into spoiler territory because it's impossible to talk about.
Yeah, because now it's gonna
talk about how that characterization matters on the impact of the movie because everything plays out in such a way that is solely dependent on one focal point. Mm-hmm. So
okay, so yeah, we'll get into it. The basic story.
Before we get into the spoilers, just if you want to leave a video a like. And comment if you haven't seen this movie, if we might have caught your interest or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely tell us if you watch the movie because of us.
Because this movie is really compelling. I do recommend you watch it. I think it's a very strong performances.
Very good movie, very strong, very important. I think in like the grand scheme of.
Yeah, I think it's important that you watch this just because it's something where it's a very strong character piece, and I feel like you leave even if you don't agree with what they're trying to say. I think it's important to just see other perspective.
Mm-hmm. And it's also important. I mean, I hate to bring up the Oscars again, but this big snub by the Oscars. I mean,
yeah, just because. Well, I think honestly, Hollywood. Well, I don't think
this was. I feel like
religious
deserving
themed things. I think just kind of get snubbed by popular culture.
Exactly.
Does that make
but this
sense?
movie isn't like a religious movie, though.
But I think because of that, just because if anything related to religion in a strong way doesn't get picked up on because that's not religion's not popular.
Yeah, that's true. But
unfortunately or unfortunately, it's not. It doesn't sell.
Yeah, and I think even like if you're not super into religion's like cool to learn about, and because religion has a lot of influence on a lot of things happening in the world today. Still, even
I think it's important to just be well rounded, just see multiple sides of things.
Yeah, I mean, you might not be religious, but like. Learning about other people's religion and cultures, and similarities through different religions. It's cool.
It's enlightening. Yeah.
But anyway, so now spoiler talk.
We're just gonna for the rest of the movie or the video. Everything revolves around what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you can still enjoy this movie with it spoiled, but it's kind of better without going in. I guess any movie for me, it's better not having it spoiled. But anyway, so the central plot of the movie is really. Like this girl comes to him in private saying that she's pregnant but that her boyfriend wants to get an abortion and that she wants the priest to talk to her boyfriend.
Yeah, which is it's a serious discussion. I thought going into this, this is pretty early in the movie that this was going to be the entire tone of the movie. Was going to be kind of a religious issue in that regard.
But it didn't. It didn't really...
And it didn't go that direction at all.
Which is good.
Yeah, and he agrees to go talk to the girl's boyfriend so that she can, he can find reason in what he's trying to say because he's depressed. And
he doesn't go with the intent to change his mind. He goes mostly to hear him out.
Yeah.
Well, at least... Maybe
so that he goes offer guidance to both parties.
I think he goes in with the intent to change his mind because he's a priest. But then once he gets there, it's more of him hearing his side.
Yeah, because he officially kind of has to follow the whole like abortion's bad kind of line that it's expected,
And the reason the guy doesn't want to bring a kid into the world is because of economic. What's the word for nature? Whatever, like global warming and politics, basically not really getting any better.
Yeah, the main
that we're on a downward spiral into anarchy.
Yes, that we have tainted the world beyond redemption.
Yeah, it's mostly about the nature part of the global warming.
We've turned the corner on how much we can stress the natural resources of the world before it becomes unfixable.
Yeah, and it's about that, and then everything relating to that, like anarchy,
and that's why the boyfriend, he feels like he ethically can't bring a child into this world, knowing that they won't live to see old age,
or
in a world that is
see a lot of horrible things.
Yeah, a world that is safe, that is the world he grew up in. One that's sustainable and healthy.
Which is weird because my mom told me the same thing. She's like, if you don't want to have a kid in this day and age, I understand.
Yeah, but I feel like every generation is kind of on that. Like, can you imagine during the Cold War, those kind of pressures, having a kid?
With the thought of nuclear destruction,
there's always
been realistic threat of nuclear destruction.
Yeah, and there's always been, I think for every generation, there's one big looming threat. And I think ours is global warming, I think, to an extent for a lot of people. So I think this kind of in a way conveys that
Yeah, I mean,
similar feeling for a lot of people.
Right now,
there's a lot going on, but
I'd say that's one of our big
It's easy to
things.
see someone who's very concerned about that, and then therefore they have the concern of bringing life into the world.
Yeah, and then that's where it gets into the religion aspect of it, because one of the lines that is very prevalent throughout is that, can God forgive us?
Yeah, for what we did to his world.
Yeah, to his creation. And that's it's kind of an interesting question that keeps in the
where's
Hawk's character's mind throughout the movie. And
is like, it's like, isn't it a sin to pollute the world that was given to us?
Yeah, exactly.
And he has, the debate of, why isn't the church more involved with global issues like that?
Yeah.
Like, we're the stewards of Earth.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because they're the ones that, like,
not just preserving God's words, but his acts.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I get. Like, that it raises a good point of, why isn't religion more involved with those kind of matters? You would think that'd be something, and they present both sides. They give some pushback.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying, it's like, who's saying that isn't in God's plan for us to do this? Like, they make the comparison to Noah's story, where God wiped the slate clean. Maybe this is him doing it again. Maybe that's the plan.
And then I guess that makes all environmental activists Noah telling everyone, hey, this is happening, and no one believing them.
Yeah, and so it's like, that's a pretty strong parallel and pretty good, I won't say rhetoric, because that has kind of like a negative connotation to it, but it's a very clear message that they're trying to convey in this.
Yeah.
From an angle I wasn't expecting it. I didn't expect this to be kind of a conservationist aligned movie. Yeah,
it is. I wasn't expecting that either. But anyways, the story goes on. They found out the guy is very radicalized. They find a suicide bomb jacket.
Yeah, he has a suicide vest.
He has a suicide vest because he plans to kill himself
to make a point,
make himself a martyr.
Yeah,
he even asked him, he's like, "Do you believe in martyrdom or the act of being a martyr?" And that's when the heavy stuff really starts coming in.
Yeah, because he forms a relationship with this guy. He gets him kind of, he feels like Ethan Hawke talks some sense into him in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he feels like this is a very troubled man.
Yeah, he feels like he gives him some comfort, and they leave, and they're like, they make plans to talk again. And he gets a text to meet him on a nature trail.
Yeah.
And it turns out Michael, the boyfriend, killed himself.
Yeah, he comes there and he finds his body on the ground with like a chunk of his head missing and a shotgun on the
and it's very cold and graphic.
Yeah, it was not expected.
In a way, almost like kind of like House That Jack Built, where it's just depicted as like, there it is, that's a dead body.
Yeah, it hits you out of nowhere because he gets there, and then the next scene is him just like standing there looking at the body.
Yeah, because it could have been a movie where he walked up to him and he blew his brains out.
No,
they didn't. It's cold and removed, and it was personal, and that was his thing.
It almost felt like how someone finding a body in real life would feel like, because it's just like, holy shit,
it's traumatizing.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, I wasn't expecting that either. Like, I thought there was going to be a little more argument between the priest and the one
I thought
guy.
Maybe it could have culminated with that, but it's just kind of sudden and abrupt in a way that
as suicide is.
Yeah, it's like this guy had his entire other story going on. You just see a window into part of it.
And then the movie after that is just,
it kind of takes two different paths.
Yeah, it follows him setting up an event for his church for the 250th year anniversary.
They're doing a reconsecration of the lands.
Yeah, and then
sponsored by the mega church.
Because they need obviously a lot of money for that.
Which is sponsored by somebody who works for some kind of company that pollutes a lot. Yeah,
it was like, he found out that church was also contributing to like giving funds to like an oil company that has like been in the headlines for not doing things that they're supposed to be doing and causing a lot of pollution.
So it kind of, he takes...
So now he sees his own, like, members of his own faith
feeding into this problem.
Exactly.
And for someone who just was so passionate about it that he was willing to kill himself because he thought that, the world was irredeemable. Seeing the thing that is giving him purpose in life corrupted in a way. Yeah,
by something that he just witnessed. He didn't witness him kill himself, but witnessed someone die over. That kind of gets to him, and that's when he starts seeing the guy's kind of like view. Like he starts
doing his own research
from that guy's point of view after he dies, because he's like, oh well, maybe the guy kind of had a point. And there's like scenes where he gets in arguments with people who are like
he gets in an argument with Cedric the Entertainer, who's the guy who runs the mega church. He gets in arguments with the guy who's sponsoring the event.
Yeah,
Mr. Bad Guy.
Mr. Bad Guy, who's a fucking huge asshole to him. He says, he's like, oh, so you were mentoring the guy and then he killed himself.
Yeah, and he
That's
also...
interesting how you mentored him first and then he killed himself.
Yeah, he's like, oh, also you just did some Google searches? Like, you're an expert on it. I run a company and, we do everything legally.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, you think you know everything because you looked on the internet.
Yeah, just
it's a complicated situation, and then him basically and them trying to diffuse the whole politics, because he goes to the guy's funeral and he gets out.
Yeah, because the guy wanted his ashes scattered at basically a chemical waste dump.
Mm-hmm. And then he has a song about global warming and
about preserving the
the earth and how we're bad people.
Yeah, which is that's
not far off.
Yeah, and up until this point, I was really wrapped up in the movie, but it starts to take, like I was saying, it goes down two paths. It follows Amanda Seyfried's character, which was the pregnant woman, who was dating Michael, the guy who killed himself, and then his relationship developing with her and being there as kind of a really supportive character and helping her through these troubled times, and then also. Yeah, I know him going down this really radical path, following the conservation movement, and watching them develop in parallel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of around that split where things started to get kind of rocky, and I started to feel a little concerned over where the movie was going.
I see. Okay,
because I thought it was going in two very crazy directions very quickly.
Yeah, it does. It does happen a little quickly in the movie.
Yeah, so. Do you want to discuss them both separately and then talk about how they meet in the middle, kind of? Or meet at the end?
Yeah, we'll do it like that.
So, Mary...
Mm-hmm. Not a coincidence her name
Not a coincidence. That she's named Mary. They begin interacting in a way that's very unconventional. Let's say that. They become very codependent on each other.
Yeah, they become close.
Yeah, in a way that you start to wonder if there's a romantic twinge to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is weird
because
he was talking to her husband, trying to help him out, and then he kills himself.
And she's pregnant, and he himself is pushing people away from him because he knows he has this terrible illness. Mm-hmm. And he kind of wants to die. And he had a relationship with another woman at the church, and she loves him unconditionally, and he's pushing her away and lashing out because he doesn't want to have anyone connected to him for whatever he ends up having to do or he feels like is going to happen.
Yeah, whether it be him dying of this sickness
or
him
just
going
anything.
Out with whatever. We'll get to that part.
So it's kind of weird. He's pushing one person away and then leaning really heavily on another. And then they do this weird thing where she lays on top of his body and they have as much skin-to-skin contact. And
then they feel each other breathing.
They feel each other breathing and they get completely in sync in their body, which is really intimate and weird for someone to be doing when they're grieving the death of their husband or their boyfriend.
And that scene, they start levitating and then the backdrops change.
Yeah.
So it's a real pretty sequence.
It's a really pretty sequence, but it's very... It's odd, but it's in a way, it's, they're both healing from very big scars.
I thought it was odd, but I didn't feel like it was out of place.
No. But it was a very interesting direction to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost uncomfortable, kind of, because it's it feels, in a way, it feels dirty and it feels wrong. Because you kind of expect people... in the cloth, I think is the right term for people that are
it is a term
to be associated and have romantic relations with people in their clergy.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, it's a very intimate thing that you're just kind of watching.
Yeah,
you almost feel like
you feel it's voyeuristic almost the way that it's presented to us, which is it goes in a weird direction there. Mm-hmm. But parallel to this, he's going very heavily into the conservation stuff.
Yeah,
and
he's looking up suicide bomb videos and
yeah, because he took that vest that they found and he held on to it. He didn't get rid of it like he said he was.
Mm-hmm.
He's planning on.
We forgot about that. When they find the suicide vest, he's like, "I'm going to take this off your hands and get rid of it,"
and he never does.
He never gets rid of it. And
he's leaning really heavily into it, and basically plans a terrorist plot
at his own church.
During the consecration event.
Mm-hmm. And there's a scene like that's when I knew like what was going to happen was like the scene where she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to be there at your 250th."
And he says, "No, I don't want you to come."
He's like, "No, please don't come. You don't have to be there." And he's like, "No, but I want to. I want to be there for you." He's like, "No, don't come. Don't."
He's like, "Don't do it. No." Mm-mm. And it gets to the day of the event, and she shows up, and he sees her right before he's about to walk in. He's got the suicide vest underneath his robes, and he's like, "Fuck!"
Exactly. He's like, "I have to step out for a second," and he goes to his room and freaks out because he's
and he starts rubbing barbed wire on himself.
Yeah, he wraps it around
self-flagellation
because the movie he obviously like hates himself. He talks about how he's like, I pressured him into be a war that we had no business being in.
Yeah. He's
destroying his body. Like there's a scene where he's pouring Pepto-Bismol into his whiskey.
Yeah.
It's oddly pretty when he does it. But it's because he doesn't, his stomach's bad, but he still wants
blood up.
He still wants to drink.
Yeah. He's a deeply flawed character.
And
he has his demons.
And I like movies like that. I hate when
he's not perfect.
The hero is like basically.
Well, he's not a hero.
Well,
the protagonist. Yeah, and he ends up, he's planning on killing himself. Like he sees that she's there, and he can't go through with what he does. So he starts drinking Drano.
He still wants to kill himself after like she's dead.
Yeah,
but he can't. Take out a bunch of people with him.
And they embrace, and she talks him out of it, basically. Or she catches him about to.
Yeah, he's about to down a cup of Drano. There's a lot of imagery with his cup. Because you see alcohol, you see a mixture of Pepto-Bismol in it, and then you see the Drano in it.
Yeah.
And it's all like a similar... Every time they show the cup, it's always like
same framing.
Yeah, same framing.
Yeah. And they embrace. And that's how it ends. You don't know how it plans out. And I don't think there is a happy ending to this.
I don't think they actually embrace it at the end, in my opinion. In my opinion, I think that's his thought right before he drinks it.
You think it was like almost like a desperate hope?
Yeah, like what he like. The one thing that could stop me from doing this would be if she walked in right now.
It's a possibility.
Embraced. I think that was his thought right before he drank the cup.
It's a possibility. They don't lean too much into like his imagination in it. Like there's not too many like fictional events over the course of this.
Except for the whole levitate, but I guess it's different. But
that's more metaphorical, I think, rather than like a figment of his imagination.
But another reason I thought that was just the way the camera movement was, how it was like
you think?
Whipping around like them.
It's a possibility.
As they were like kissing and stuff. I thought that was, I don't know. It almost
I might have to rewatch it with different goggles on.
Yeah, and at first I was like, okay, so it ends kind of happy. He doesn't do it. But then I was like really thinking about it.
It's not a happy ending.
Yeah.
It doesn't... having the girl that you've become codependent on, that you don't even necessarily love. There's no real connection between... These are two hurt people trying to heal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a happy ending.
It's a drab movie. It's a very drab. Yeah. It's good. It's not a light watch.
No.
You have to really be paying attention. Not because it's complicated, but just because... I don't know, the details are important.
Yeah, you're watching this movie not because it's something you can have on as background noise.
Yeah, no, and if you walk out the room to get a sandwich and then come back in, you'll still know what's happening. Yeah. But, like, it's better to watch it and really pay attention to it and, like, really see
it's bad that we have to justify a movie and say that it deserves your full attention.
But that's
how people are.
I mean, we just talked about Bohemian Rhapsody. That's something you can.
That's a movie that you can not pay attention to and still hit the story beats.
Exactly. You can go and make yourself a sandwich, walk back, and then be like, "Oh, what happened?"
Oh, I guess he's gay now. Okay. And
then be like, "Oh, he's having issues with being famous and drugs."
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, this movie was it's a really sombering movie.
Yeah.
Or sobering. It's a very somber movie that is sobering. I just merged those.
I feel like the vibe of the movie almost has the vibe of like the hymns that they sing in church. Like, not the choir stuff, but like I don't know. Like, it's not very loud. I don't know. Like I'm trying to word it. Like you like the very soft singing and stuff. I feel like that could have almost been like the soundtrack.
Like a choir?
Yeah, but you know how like not choirs in the sense where it's like all loud and jumpy, but you know how when like you go to church and they make you like everyone stand up and sing along and there's like the little lyrics in the books. I feel like
I went to a church that was we only sang the happy songs.
Oh no!
So
I went to a church where we had to sing the real boring, not boring, but like to me as a kid they were boring, but like they're very like soft and. I
don't know. We had lots of hallelujahs.
No, did you go to? Were you the only white person at your church?
No, but no, they were like the like. Fuck, I don't know.
But anyway,
I'm out of my.
Because those songs sound very somber, and the whole movie is just very like I don't know, it's sad. It's just a sad movie.
It's just a sad movie. There's an overall like depression that leans over it. Yeah,
the whole movie is really about despair.
Yeah,
that's like the main theme of the movie is despair. They even bring up the word despair like a million times in it.
They do. But
watch it.
Watch it. It's a good one.
Watch it. No, watch it. Ethan Hawke's performance alone is worth the watch because he's a very troubled man in this movie, and he conveys it well. Yeah,
I think that's fair. It's a really good performance. Mm-hmm. Ethan Hawke fucking killed it.
Ethan Hawke. I feel like for a while Ethan Hawke kind of fell off, but now I've been seeing him in more stuff. Yeah.
For the longest time, I thought he was in fucking Entourage. I was totally getting confused with another actor for like years.
With the guy who's the brother of he's Matt Dillon's brother, I think.
Yeah.
He does look like a dirty Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, I don't know his name. For years, I thought it was the same person.
He's like a douchebag Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke is his older brother that's more mature.
Oh fuck, how do you spell Entourage?
Entour. Did you ever see the Entourage movie?
No, it just kind of came and went. I watched all of it.
I watched the movie.
Just not the movie.
I didn't watch the show, but I watched them. I mean, I saw some of the show.
Kevin Dillon. For some reason, I got him mixed up with Ethan Hawke for years.
I mean, I can see why. I mean, he looks like Ethan Hawke. Oh wait, look, go back. Look, that's the kid from
Fright Night.
Yeah, Fright Night.
Yeah. Not
Patrick Dempsey. Oh, that's Patrick Dempsey.
It's weird how much like.
Whoa, that's what he looks like now.
That's what he looks like now. He was in Godzilla. Fucking weird. All right.
The best Godzilla.
All right. So since we're getting a little off track, let's wrap this one up. I think it's worth a watch. I think it's a compelling movie.
It is a compelling movie.
It goes in a direction that I didn't expect.
It's worth the note that it's directed and written by the guy who wrote Taxi Driver.
Yep.
And Taxi Driver is kind of similar with a very troubled man being the main character. Except this is very different from Taxi Driver.
Very.
It's a cleaner movie than Taxi Driver.
Yes.
Taxi Driver is dirty.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like this movie is cleaner like with the...
It's not content, but it's a very... It has an air of holiness.
Yeah.
In a way.
And Taxi Driver is...
It's elevated.
Taxi Driver is almost like the opposite spectrum of like Sin City.
Mm-hmm.
Taxi Driver
dwells on like a different dark side of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a way, it does. I think
it's
this
like
director has an inkling to lean towards.
It's like
the flaws of humanity.
Yeah, it's like Taxi Driver is the main character being flawed, and so is First Reformed. But Taxi Driver is him just delving into the flaws like head first, and and then he's more back because he has like his morals from the church backing him. So the flaws, that's where like the conflict comes with his flaws. But as with Taxi Driver, I don't know. Taxi Driver is a good movie though.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. Let's wrap this one up and have a good one. Let us know if you've seen it or if we cause you to watch it. Let us know.
And if you disagree with us, let us know so we can argue with you in the comments.
Yeah, because I'm curious. I want to know what other people think about this movie.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get up my own ass about things. This could be one of them.
This could be definitely one of those, but watch it.
Yeah.
I think we've said that a million times already.
We do that like every episode where like we watch it and then we're like, let me justify just why you should watch it. And even though we just spent like 35 minutes explaining why you should watch it. See ya.